like last year. Every game I watch.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Tank Rise Show. We suck, Eric. I mean, we knew that, but oh man, the Blazers had like won 3 out of 7 games, and it's kind of sad that we felt good about that, but they had won 3 out of 7 games. You know, that's almost 500. The last 2 games, oh my goodness, absolutely brutal. Blazers get blown out again at the hand of the Dallas Mavericks. And unfortunately, we get to see the same exact game 2 days from now. So we'll see if that one goes better, but this game was freaking brutal, and there is really no redeeming positives to this game as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you can find one, Mr. Optimistic Eric, but yeah, I'm ready to talk about trades now officially, because I really don't want to even discuss this game, because this was just maybe the most miserable game of the year from start to finish. The Blazers got down 30 in the first half, 30 quick. And it was a pretty brutal one. Eric, how's it going, man? And what are your, I guess, initial thoughts on this masterpiece?
I was trying to think of something positive to say. Ish Wainwright didn't look like the worst player in the league tonight in his garbage time minutes. I don't know. That's about all I could think of. Sharp had a lob dunk.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, and shot 50% from the field. Wait. No, there's a couple other Blazers. I was going to say, he's the only player that shot 50% out of the normal rotation guys, other than Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle, 4 for 6, Shaedon Sharpe, 6 for 12. Everybody else shot the ball pretty terribly. Anthony, 5 for 16. Scoot, 2 for 11, had 6 turnovers. Duop Reith gets ejected on a BS ejection. I mean, this game just had it all in terms of misery. Chat, is there any positives from this game? How are you feeling about this game? I'm going to let you kind of break down what went wrong, Eric. Like, I'm just... I want to talk about trades at some point in this episode, preferably sooner rather than later, because I'm just ready to look ahead to like what's next in terms of roster construction, because it's tough. It's tough going live after a couple blowouts like this, especially with how miserable this game is, where like they just got thoroughly thrashed. Luka gets every whistle. Luka finishes with 41 points in 30 minutes. Like, it just looked like we were a G League team against an NBA team today. So I'll let you kind of lead this one with wherever you want to go, man, because this was brutal.
Yeah, I think it was just a combination of a lot of different things. Scoot was really bad. Anthony was not good either. Jeremy didn't show up much tonight. Baji struggled a little bit against the starters and got in foul trouble like we knew he would. Brogdon didn't really do anything. Sharp came in, hit a nice 3 on a nice pin down / kind of looked like an elevator screen, but I don't know if it was a full elevator screen. Hits a 3-pointer and then doesn't see the ball for like 3 minutes. They're just kind of running around out there. Tamani has been struggling as well lately. Brogdon isn't really doing much. Jabari gets hurt. Like you said, Dwab gets ejected on some BS. And then they get every freaking whistle. You can't even...
34 fouls for us. I think that
Dude.
might be a season high.
The game was almost unwatchable at points in the first half. It was just like a foul on every freaking play, and it was so slow, and there was no flow to this game, which probably helped contribute to the Blazers. But, I mean, it's another game. I don't know what they ended up finishing at, but once they like pulled the starters and everything, they were shooting 39% for the game. I don't know if the garbage time helped at all or not, but yeah, I mean, just another inept offensive game by the Blazers, and they didn't play any defense either. So they gave it 78 in the first half, I think.
Yeah.
So just all around crap, man. Just I mean, no offense, and man,
Defense.
It's really frustrating. The Blazers obviously had a game plan on defense tonight to overplay players coming to the ball, going from a lower position on the court to a higher position, deny those passes, get in the passing lanes and stuff like that. So the Mavericks just simply... for a second. The Mavericks were just simply backdooring every time, and it worked almost every time. We overplayed them on the high side, and they just went low. And I mean, someone like Luka is going to have a field day passing to wide open cutters down the lane with no help because the big is coming up to set a screen, and so you have to account for that. And so just no adjustment by the Blazers, just kept getting backdoored the whole game as well, giving up easy baskets. And then to the Mavericks' credit, Kyrie comes out, hits a bunch of tough shots, and makes some plays. Luka starts making plays and scores 40 some points. And I just a combination of the Blazers sucking and the Mavs played really well tonight.
What's really discouraging about a game like this is the Blazers had mostly everyone. DeAndre Ayton didn't play, but every other meaningful player ended up playing in this one, other than, of course, Robert Williams III. But given the roster that they have after Williams went down, like, Ayton was the only guy missing. And they got thoroughly outclassed. You had Ant, you had Scoot, you had Brogdon, you had Shaden. Didn't matter. I do like in a game like this, like, Scoot plays 32 minutes. He sucked, but you got to let him play through his struggles at this point if we're going to get blown out.
What does it matter? Yeah.
Yeah, get him as many NBA reps as possible, so he plays 32 minutes, which, like, I'm cool with, especially because they were getting blown out the whole second half, so at that point, it's just time to work on stuff with these young guys. So, you know, like Brogdon playing 16 minutes, Scoot playing 32 in a game like this, completely fine with that.
Although Lamar said on the broadcast that this was like still early in the second half. He was like, it turned into a pickup game. And yeah, I completely agree. So I don't know how much you're learning in a pickup game style, but I do agree that, I mean, it's good that he's getting 32 minutes.
Yeah. But just, man, I was curious how good this team was going to be to start the season if they didn't deal with injuries, like Ant's injury, Robert Williams III. Like, I wanted to see how good this team was, but the more and more I watch this team right now, when they have Ant back, when they have most of their lineup, and then after watching Ayton and how badly he played after he came back from injury, and now he's out again, and you talked about on the last post-game show, like, Apparently, his knee is just sore, and there's like no explanation. It's just a really weird kind of injury situation with him. It's like, man, this team, I don't think this team was going to be anywhere near the play-in, even if they were healthy. And it's funny because they've had games where they've been super shorthanded and they've been able to be effective. They've been able to win some games super shorthanded. But now they're healthier and they don't look any better. The thing is, like, I feel like this time of year is always absolutely miserable for this Blazer team under Chauncey Billups. Like, December, especially the second half of December to early January, always feels like it's absolutely awful. And Dame, in previous years, like, he's terrific in the month of January. I believe that, like, insane 6-game run he went on where he was averaging, like, 50 a game. I forget what year it was, but you remember, like, his historic run, like, 4 years ago where he's averaging, like, 50 a game over 6 games. I think that was in January. Normally it becomes a situation where Dame just had to absolutely carry this team in the month of January. Now you don't have him. The problem is like, most teams are improving between November, December, January. Then they get to the trade deadline, and then the areas they, are struggling in still, then if they're trying to win games, they address it via trade. I feel like every season under Chauncey, this team has not improved from November to December to January, and games get rougher because other teams do. That's just my theory, but this team doesn't look like it's improving at all. And you can say injury this, injury that. They've looked better than this in multiple games where they were more shorthanded. So I don't get it.
Yeah, well, a couple things. One, I don't know if you can say they're at full strength because it was pretty obvious that most of the guys that came back, including Sharp, looked obviously much better than he did last game, but he was out a while and still looked a little bit slow out there. Anthony looked really winded in the second half.
Second half didn't matter. We lost this game in the first half.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think his conditioning was there. So I don't know if we can say that this was like full strength. I
didn't say it was full strength, but they were healthier than they were in some previous games where they've looked much better than this.
Yeah. So Chauncey, I did catch the post-game press conference, and it kind of addressed that. You can take this for what it is. But he basically said that they haven't been able to practice in a really long time because they don't have enough healthy bodies to practice. So he was saying that it's really hard to work on stuff and get things locked in when you don't have enough players to even have a full practice. So that was what he was saying was the reason for some of their struggles.
For me, it's just always something. It's always, we are more injured than every other team. Like, why are we always more injured than every other team? Like, is it the players we bring in? Is it our training staff? Is it guys playing too many minutes when they shouldn't be? Guys returning too quick? Like, why is this always a thing? Because it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke that we don't have enough guys to practice. Like, every year it's, oh, well, we had some injuries. There's other teams out there with some injuries, man. And they're able to still play a solid brand of basketball. And the thing is like, I felt earlier in the year there were some games where we were injured, where we were shorthanded, and we still played a good brand of basketball. Mm-hmm. And we went on post games like after some losses and weren't negative at all or weren't that negative considering the bar we set, right? Because we're so negative. I felt like it was fine. Like, you could accept some of the games they had earlier in the season. Right now, it's just like, yeah, I guess injuries have added up, and if you can't practice, you can't practice. Like, that's a legitimate reason why this team isn't improving. But it's like that every year. And at some point, it's like, okay, what do we got to do to change it? Because obviously, if every year goes the same exact way, no matter who we have, we either got to bring in guys with less injury issues, or we got to fix something ourselves. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the solution is. I don't get paid to provide the solution for this multi-billion-dollar organization. It was just kind of to the point where, like, man, I'm just so tired of it being the same season after season in terms of we'll have some impressive performances in October and November, maybe some shorthanded, right? And the team will look like, competent. This year, we were 3-3 and then completely fell off. This team wasn't built to absorb injuries. That's how it was different than maybe last year or the year before when we had more talent. But every year during December and then January, it's just awful. It's just completely awful. And there's literally feels like there's no positives. I don't remember feeling good about a month of December or January in years.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, we're one of the worst teams in the league, so are we supposed to look good right now?
No, but I would expect us to look better than we did tonight.
Yeah,
And
like I said, everything felt weird. Like, the starting lineup was weird. They didn't really mesh, and Scoot and Anthony haven't had much time playing together, so it just seemed kind of awkward with them. There were times where Anthony didn't touch the ball. I don't think he touched the ball the first or for a while, and then Scoot was just didn't do anything. Like, it was hard to even know he was on the court for a while. And then I don't know, like, you're down to your two-way bigs, and one of them gets ejected, and the other one's in foul trouble. Jabari, your hustle guy, gets hurt. It's tough, man. I know some of that happened after already being down 30 or whatever, but I don't know. This game just seemed kind of off. But then you look at it like we've now been blown out 3 out of the last 4 games, so that's not helping their case at all either.
Yeah. So looking at January last year, we won the first game of January versus Detroit. That was the GP2 returns game. We had the watch party for that game. All right, our first in-person watch party. And the Blazers were 19-17. They then went on to lose 8 out of their next 10 games to fall to 21-25. And the only 2 wins, coincidentally enough, were home games back-to-back against the Dallas Mavericks. For whatever reason, they always make us play Dallas in back-to-back games. I don't know why it's Dallas, but they always do that with Dallas. But the 3 losses after our first win in January last year, the first 4 losses were all against lottery teams. We lost against Minnesota, Indiana, Toronto, and Orlando. And then we lost at home to Cleveland. I understand this is a 7-game road trip. There's a bunch of reasons why things will go bad. I never expected to win this game. I didn't expect to look this bad on back-to-back nights when it seemed like maybe they were starting to find a little bit of something. As I said, they won 3 out of 7 games. Yes, that's nothing amazing, but it's better than what they were doing. And the offense looked better than what it was earlier in the season. Some of that was Anthony Simons coming back. I know he's been ill. But against San Antonio on the 29th, we had 134 points without Anthony Simons.
But their defense is dreadful.
Their defense is dreadful.
Wembanyama in that game.
Their defense is, their defense isn't good. But, man, the offense went from that to 88 on Monday against Phoenix and 97 tonight. It is the last 2 games just completely regressed to the league worst offense we had the first 2/3 of this regular season so far.
Yeah, I think I hate to keep harping on this, but we were told that Dane was the problem and that the offense was going to be more open. They were going to run. They were going to share the ball. They were going to not be limited by having to watch one player take over games, that was going to free them to run a lot more stuff and to do things like pass the ball more, move a lot more off ball, and it seems more stagnant and less passing than there ever was, even with Dame teams. So,
Yeah.
I don't understand that aspect of it. We're seemingly running the same offense that we've ran for years without the talent that we've had over the last decade or whatever. And so it's kind of funny just watching them be stagnant and not move at all up ball.
Yeah.
The few times they do, they get a lob to Sharp on like the one of the few times he cuts. And then in the second half, Scoot, one of Scoot's best passes tonight, has a nice find to Monty for an and one. And so like it feels like it just feels like that they're not even really moving much on offense, and it's kind of frustrating. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand how somebody watches this compared to, like, the Blazers, the first 20 games of last year or whatever, and think that the ball movement is better right now. I don't understand that. The Blazers' biggest problem in the first 20 games last year was, like, they were maybe trying to move the ball a little too much. They had a lot of turnovers, right?
Mm.
I don't understand if it's like wanting to stick to the narrative that Dame hurt our ball movement, so now that he's gone, our ball movement is better, our players just suck. Like, I don't know how much of this is people just wanting to stick to narratives. But I watch these games. I don't understand what people were seeing if they think we were moving the ball much better than we were with Dame. Because we're not. And here's why. We don't run many sets, and when we do, they're very basic, with like one option, and then you're into a handoff, and if that's not there, you're into rat ball. But a number of times, I talked about this after the post-game show, the second game against San Antonio, Chauncey just isn't even calling anything when they dribble the ball up the floor. And like, yes, you got to be able to move the ball out of freelance, but Chauncey's never been able to effectively get his teams to move the ball well in freelance. They don't they do not cut well enough. They do not set off-ball screens if they're not in a set. That's the biggest thing. If they're not in a set, guys just stand there and look at whoever has the ball. Occasionally you'll see a cut. You won't see somebody screen away. You won't see somebody pass a screen away. You won't see somebody cut through and set a back screen. And it's just kind of a BS offense. And the thing is the offensive style is 100% Chauncey, because it's a lot of the same stuff you saw last year with a completely different roster.
And we see teams like Dallas tonight, even off a made basket, they push the ball up the court, and it creates a mismatch, and you get a cheap foul on a big that shouldn't be guarding someone. Jeremy's man beats him down the court because Jeremy's like, I don't know what the heck he's doing in the backcourt. And, the guy takes it right into the big and gets a foul on Baji. But, like, we just, like, are constantly slowing the ball down and setting up our offense and letting the defense set up. Mm-hmm. And that's when you have an offense that's struggling to score points and to hit shots, try to get them easier shots, either by cutting a lot more, throwing more lobs, trying to get inside more in the paint, that kind of stuff, versus whatever the heck we're doing. Like, try to get some easy, fast break buckets to get your guys going. I don't understand why, with the young team we have, why we're not trying to run teams out of the gym.
Yeah, we're built to freaking run.
Yeah.
I thought we were maybe going to be one of the top 5 teams in terms of pace offensively in the league. We're not even close, man. That's the thing. Is like this roster construction is completely different. The offense looks the same, whether it's getting out on the break and in transition, which we just consistently haven't done no matter what, or the sets, or the freelance half-court offense. Like, all of it looks very, very similar to previous years. And that's the thing, is like, where's the improvement in terms of style of play that a lot of people said we were going to get without Dame. Because it's one thing to like move the ball and then miss shots. We don't do a good job moving the ball. It's not just that you have less shooting talent on this team. We're very, very stagnant. And here's the thing, it's like, you should not be running the same exact stuff you were last year when your offense was Damian Lillard. Whereas this year, your offense is supposed to be a more team-based structure, right? Like, you brought in an offensive upgrade of a center and Ayton. Thing is, we don't run anything through him. We don't run anything for him. If we ever give him the ball, it's, oh, well, he's just going to go post up and we're just going to dribble down his side of the floor and then, like, stand there and, like, try and throw an entry pass. We don't actually run anything for him. So, like, more than half the stuff we run for Grant is ISO. We rarely get him going off movement and catching passes off movement. It's all like he's going to stand along the three-point line, catch a ball, shoot a three, or like then attack the closeout. And then if we're not passing it to him at the three-point line, we're posting him up. Just like we did in that second game against San Antonio, where we let the Spurs get back in that game because there was like 3 or 4 possessions we just force-fed the ball into the post to Jeremy Grant, even though the Spurs in that game, they were playing with Wemby, they had Sohan, they had a lot of size. And we weren't doing a good job attacking the interior going up against their size. So that's the thing, is like you got Jeremy Grant, you got DeAndre Ayton, right? 2 skilled front court players. You don't run anything for them. You don't run anything legitimate for them. It's basically just give them the ball, get out the way. Is what the entire offense has been this entire season. You don't have Dame anymore, but all the sets, all the structure is exactly the same. That shows me that you have a coach that doesn't know how to adapt to his players. He's just like, he has his basic ass stuff, which is not good, that he's going to run, and that's it. And sometimes, when Ant's able to hit a bunch of shots and Scoot's like in his right mind, and sometimes it looks good because players make plays. But that game against San Antonio, we shot like 59% from 3, and some of them were tough threes, right? And I went on that postgame shot. It wasn't anything to do with the structure. It wasn't anything to do with the sets. It was players making plays. And I get it. It's the NBA. The players are the ones out there playing the game. A lot of people like to downplay the impact that a coach has. But it's not anything where we're putting players in the best positions to score given their skill sets, because the offense isn't tailored to any player's specific skill sets at all. It's basically just some basic crap. And then if we ever give Jeremy Grant the ball, DeAndre Ayton the ball, it's dribble the ball up the side of the court and post them up or ISO them. And then there's times where Jeremy Grant will take 10 dribbles in a row and you know he's going to shoot it on the second dribble. He takes 8 more, draws 3 guys, still shoots it. Like, that's our offense. So that's the problem I have, is like, you're not seeing any improvement in terms of the style of the offense. The results will vary within that, but you didn't see any improvement going into this year. You didn't see anything different, and you're not seeing anything improve. You can have the excuse that they're not practicing, but man, we're on what, game 30? This was game 33? Brand new team. We're almost halfway through the season. Nothing looks different than last year. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, the only way it looks different is, having different players or whatever. But yeah, I mean, 22 turnovers tonight too. It doesn't help the cause either. Can't win many games when you're turning the ball over that many times.
It's easier to turn over the ball when you're stuck without knowing what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just I don't know, man. It took like 4 or 5 possessions for Ant to get a shot. I don't know. Like, Sharp comes in, like I said, hits his first shot, doesn't see the ball for several minutes. He only gets 12 shots. He's, like you said, shot 50% from the field. I don't know what the heck our offense is, man.
Yep. Yep. Todd Keith says all teams run variations on the same sets. Shoot, I wish we ran some variations to our sets. Like, okay, fine. Yeah, a lot of teams run horns. But the thing is, they have different wrinkles out of it, and it flows into some secondary action. A lot of our sets don't flow into secondary action.
I think a lot of our problem is that we run the same sets as a lot of teams, but we only do the initial action, or like only the players involved in the initial action are ever moving. The other 2 or 3 are just standing in their spot and don't cut or set back screens or do anything. And so I think that's the problem, is most other teams. So it's kind of funny. My son is playing 5th grade basketball. This is only his second time playing like on an actual rec team. And first practice last night, coach is like, okay, I'm going to have these motion plays where everyone's moving around, and no matter what, I'm not going to have positions. I want everyone to know what to do, and I want you guys like constantly moving and setting screens, and if you don't have the ball, you're supposed to like move to this spot, and then this guy's supposed to move to this spot and do all these things. It was like the first practice of 5th grade, and like they're already talking about all these like movements and motions they're going to do on offense. And then I watch, and so last year he had the same coach, and they were a year younger and stuff, and they didn't really have many plays, but they had one where it was basically just the person with the ball called out someone else's name, and they'd come and set a screen for him and run a pick and roll. And so he's like, this year, like, you guys are a year older, you need to start learning how to run plays and move off ball and stuff. And so like I was like, all right, this is awesome. But like, yeah. And then I watched like an NBA game where like they don't even bother moving at all off ball, and it's just like so frustrating to me, man.
Dude, in high school we had like 20 man-to-man sets, and some of them were like a variation of the same play that would be called depending on how the defense defended like the first iteration of a group of sets that we ran, right? So like if they're overplaying, like we would call a variation to like try and take advantage of that. That was high school, bro. Like it's not anything where it's not difficult to run a better offense than what they're running, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
well, they do run a better offense, just too complicated.
Yeah, that's the excuse we've heard. Too complicated. Well, maybe if it's so complicated where nobody does anything, maybe it's just ass.
Maybe.
Maybe it just sucks. I don't know. But like one of the plays, you know what? I haven't brought out a clipboard all season long. I think it's about time I pull out a clipboard, because I want to ask you about this one play. And I want to ask chat about this one play as well. Let me just set it up in Photoshop real quick. Just give me a second. I'm wondering, there's just a play where it's like 3 pointless passes that I do not understand, and I want your opinion on it. So let me just do a window capture for Photoshop. That's not it. That's not it either. Sorry, one second.
Colonel Panic says Chauncey is not a good coach, but that's not his job.
What's his job then?
What's his job?
Like, what are we talking about here?
Coaching isn't his job?
Coaching isn't his job.
He's not a good coach, but I'm sorry, I'm just failing to understand what you're saying. He's a camp counselor for millionaires. So he's just supposed to manage egos? That's it?
You want to thank the donos while I finish this?
Yeah, so Embarking Box, what's up, Sean? Had a member message for 9 months. Says, almost went to the game. He lives down in Texas. Glad I saved money. Laughing face emoji. Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see the team. I mean, I guess you have another chance on Friday to go if you wanted to, but yeah, it's tough to think about spending money on this team right now.
Yeah.
And then MGJJ 123 had a $10 donation. Thank you. Where in the third year of this ugly, or I think I meant to be we're in the third year of this ugly basketball. Hope something can still change this year. I think the effort seems there, but no structure. Not sure what the next step should be. I don't know if the effort's still there. I feel like it's kind of waning a little bit.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. I mean, I can't say we're giving more effort than your average NBA team right now.
Feels like we're still on holiday or something.
Yeah, I mean, we just, 2024 is just not going to be our year. We've played 2 games in the year of 2024, and we've lost by like a collective, 60 points, something like that. I'm not going to do the math, but it's a lot of points. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of points. So I guess this is just, we're the Detroit Pistons this year. Let's see if we can not go on a 28-game losing streak. Anyway, yeah, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but okay, this should be good to go. Because I want to ask you about this. Let me make sure it shows up right. Excited to do a display capture. Okay, let's just do that. That's fine. Okay. So, this play. Let me just write positions real quick. We run this play that's just like the most pointless like start to a play. And the reason why I'm putting this up on screen is I want to see like what chat thinks about it, and I want to see if chat like recognizes it. Right? So I don't know like the exact positions, but it's something like hold on. Then I'll just draw a orange circle for the basketball. Do you know the play, Eric, where, like, whoever's bringing the ball up will bring it up, like, one side of the court, skip it across to whatever dude is here. He will.
He's, like, way behind the free throw.
Yeah.
He's probably even deeper than that, yeah.
He's, like, here, and then he dribbles down and hands it off to this guy who comes up, and then this guy, after he gets the handoff, throws it all the way back to the point guard, who's, like, 30 feet away from the rim still.
Yep. Yeah, I do know that play.
What the hell is the purpose of that? Like, it's one thing if you're trying to shift the defense, but if you're trying to shift the defense, like, A, they can't see it coming from a mile away. B, when the ball's in the air this long, it gives them time to shift back so they're no longer shifted. C, if you're throwing it to a dude that's this far away, he can't even take advantage of a shifted defense. A lot of times they'll, like, run this into a pick and roll. It's like, what is all this for? Nobody looks to score. It's literally like window dressing. It doesn't make sense to me. Chat, do you know what play I'm talking about? It's literally just this. Go, dribble, handoff. We're moving the ball, guys. Oh, back to the point guard. Time to run a pick and roll. That's not a freaking set. That's a joke.
Yeah, like, just all they'd have to do to make that a little better is have the point guard go down and run around either the center or the power forward in that situation, and then come back up and, maybe you're open or you cause the switch or something like chat's saying. But, like, I don't know, just to stand there while the other two dribble handoff to an obviously, like, the play's not even for them to look to score. It's so weird. I agree.
Like, you're not forcing switches by having this guy dribble down and do a dribble handoff where this guy was like never looking to score. Whoever's guarding the small forward is literally just able to go under the screen because neither of these guys like face the rim. Neither of these guys face the rim. This dude catches the ball and literally dribbles right this way, facing this way. So he's not even looking at the rim. And then this guy gets the handoff and he's facing the other end line and literally doesn't even look to like score and then passes it back. It's like neither of these guys are looking at the rim. Neither of these guys are a threat. The thing is like occasionally we'll turn the ball over on this play and it's just like the handoff will get tipped or like this. I mean, this pass is kind of a tough pass. I don't know. Like that set drives me crazy. I do not understand it in the slightest. If you're going to do all that just to run a pick and roll, why not just dribble the ball up straight into a pick and roll at that point?
Yeah, we did that. We did turn the ball over on that play tonight because Shaden started cutting and scoot through it to where he was.
Yeah, like
it went right out of bounds, yeah.
The only wrinkle, I guess, is like you dribble the ball down and if this dude's getting overplayed, he back cuts. But, I mean, the thing is we run this play enough that I feel like smart teams are just like, okay, don't get back cut because neither of these guys are ending up as a threat and they're just going to kick it back to the point guard. Because we don't run a lot and we see this play often. And legitimately, the only point of all this is just to maybe get this guy to back cut. It's just super unimaginative. It's just super uncreative. Like, legitimately, why doesn't this guy just dribble the ball up the floor and then see if this dude can back cut? Like, why dribble it up this side just to skip it, which is a lengthy pass that could get turned over just to try and get this guy to... Why is this guy bringing up the ball then? Why don't you just go straight into it? Why don't you just go straight into it? Like, nothing about this makes sense to me.
I get frustrated when one of the guards brings the ball up and barely gets it across before a 8-second count. And then the other guard's like standing halfway between the 3-point line and half court with his guy pressed up on him, but he's holding him off like he's posting him up. And then it's like they finally like throw it over the top to get him the ball. And all it was like a pass from one side of the court to the other side of the court, barely across half court. And then there's like 10 seconds on the shot clock, and we've done absolutely nothing on the play. Like, it happens so much. Like, what are we doing? And then tonight, so I said before the game, I was looking forward to seeing Ivy Baji set some pick and roll screens for Anthony to see how much space he can create. They had him freaking slip the pick every time at the beginning of the game. He wasn't even setting a pick. He was slipping it, and like, he's not really a playmaker or anything out of the high post right now. I mean, he made a couple of nice passes out of that, but also had some turnovers and stuff. Because, like, why don't you want Ant to get space on that? I didn't understand the game plan tonight at all.
Yeah, I just don't understand our sets because, like, once the ball gets kicked back to this point guard, you're basically in rat ball. Like, they don't run anything creative off of this. At least that I've seen. It's just like a pick and roll. Yeah, like. Cool. There's the other set, which I like this first action when you got guards that can score. Like bringing it up one side of the court and then screen away and having this guy come off here and catch the ball with like a little head of steam. And if he's open, he can pull, or he's like has a running start when he catches it. So it's maybe a little easier to attack. The only problem is if it's guarded, like, and the ball gets backed out, like we just all stand around. That's the end of the set. Yeah. That's what I mean by, like, there's no secondary action on so much stuff that we run. Because literally that, and he tries to score, and if he doesn't, like, oh, well, pick and roll. Like, it's not impressive.
Well, the few times we do run Ant off ball, he starts in the corner, and he either gets one or two screens from the other two guys. Like, let's say the shooting guard has the ball right here, and Anthony's in the corner, and then he'll get a screen from the two bigs or whatever. And so he'll come up to the top and get the ball, and of course he'll shoot it if he's open. But then like the other 4 players just stand around once he does that. Like there's no other, like you said, there's no secondary actions to any of these plays. It's all just super simple and basic, and there's not much nuance to them. I don't understand.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this, teams know how to guard a staggered screen.
Yeah.
Right? Defensively, you're supposed to go under the first and over the second.
But those are the screens you want to slip because they're focused on Anthony there.
Yeah.
If we slip those, one of those guys probably open. Yeah.
we never slip these. Like, Grant going middle here should be an option. Or Ayton, even. Or Ayton at the top. Slip this. He loves this freaking shot. Like, why'd you bring him in for if you're not going to have anything for him? Like, I'm not in love with this shot for him with how much he settles for it, but he loves his freaking middies. And he can shoot them. Like, he can make a okay amount of them, I guess. You never see him off a staggered screen, like, slip middle. There's just no secondary action to so much stuff that we run, and it drives me insane. So, like, you know, I'm sure there's a couple of sets that are a little better than this that maybe I'm forgetting, but, like, a lot of stuff I see us run, it's like just one basic action, and then we're stuck, and then we kind of stand around and, like, dribble, maybe run a pick and roll, or we ISO. That's not better ball movement. That's literally what we did last year. It's literally exactly what we did last year. So, the offense is just kind of a joke to me.
Out that double screen, too, if, like, one of those guys set a back screen for the other screener, that's probably open, like, at least half the time, too.
Yeah, Ant comes off, and, like, that's the thing, is if you have these two guys setting the stagger, I mean, it's not hard to come up with creative stuff. If these guys are setting the stagger, Ant comes off, catches this ball for 3, the 3's not there, run this into a pin down for Jeremy. Like, maybe that's an option off it. I just feel like off this stagger screen, we just catch the ball here and stand.
Eric Olden says Torrey Hart's second action is a Grant post up or ISO.
Yeah, it's just it's super unimaginative. It's such a basic offense. It's such a joke. Like, I don't know. I don't want to bring up anything I ran in high school because then Reddit will have a field day, right? There'll be people raging on Reddit about it. But I swear, like, we would have singular sets that were more complex than anything this team seems to run. So that's why I freaking laugh my ass off whenever you hear, yeah, you know, our stuff is just so complex, man. Our stuff is just so freaking complex. NBA players can't run it. Doesn't look complex at all to me.
Not at all.
So, I don't know. Like, I have a major problem with our offense. If we suck, but we try running stuff that's good, at least we're trying to run stuff that's good. So when we're better, maybe we'll have a really good offense. The problem is, you run crap, it just sets your team back. And that's the thing with Chauncey is, you know, there's people out there that'll say, hey, it's his job to help them tank. So it's his job to coach bad enough that he should get fired? Like,
Chauncey is not trying to lose games.
Yeah, it's just a pointless excuse. He hasn't proven he can run anything. This organization doesn't need him to coach poorly in order to lose games because he's coached pretty poorly his entire tenure here. Right? So they should be trying to see if he can run a legitimate offense. You got his guys, quote unquote, at least that's, okay, maybe not quote unquote, because they implied that. They only implied that on media day, right? They didn't come out and say, you know, like they were going to have a better offense without Dame, but they implied it. They implied that they were going to be able to play more like a team. They were going to be able to play faster. It was very clear if you read between the lines on media day what they were implying. There's no reason it should look the same then. They have no excuse. And if Chauncey, with guys that are his guys, can't run anything better than he did last year when he ran the offense through Dame, then how can you have faith in him going forward in his ability to do so? I don't understand how. So, That's the problem, is when you play good defenses, they will shut down these initial actions. And then they can guard an ISO and guard pick and rolls, because that's like the two most, like, the two biggest staples in the league, right? When the going gets rough, you give the ball to your best player, he makes a play, or you run a pick and roll. The problem is, in order to beat the best defenses, like in the long run, if this team is going to contend under Chauncey Billups, in order to beat the best defenses, you can't just have basic initial action, because teams will scout that. Our offense would be so easily scoutable in a playoff series under Chauncey Billups. Our offense would be so easily scoutable. Teams would be so prepared for everything that we would throw their way in terms of our half-court offense. And it's not like we freaking run, so we're always playing the half-court. If we're in a playoff series, teams would be so prepared for that and shut down literally everything we run, and then we're stuck isoing and playing pick and roll. And the offense is basically the exact same as it always was under Damian Lillard. No different. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, in playoffs, I've always said this, you cannot get by running pick and roll and ISO, because defenders are allowed to actually play defense. They're allowed to be a little bit more physical. So it's a little harder to go one-on-one.
They'll just trap Anthony or Scoot or whoever it is and take them out of the game, make someone else, like Baji or someone, beat them, you know?
Yep, it's why like Stotts' offense would be like top 3 in the past, and then out of playoff teams in the playoffs would be like 9th or 10th. It's part of the reason why Dame looked amazing in the regular season, and then in the playoffs had a lot of struggles. Because it was a regular season offense. It wasn't an offense built to succeed in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, it's really hard to get by offensively just running iso ball and pick and roll. You got to be able to generate easier shots than that. Because most of the time out of iso and pick and roll, it's not going to be a wide open shot if it's defended competently. Mm-hmm. If you have a really good screen setter and a really good pick and roll duo, maybe, but we saw a pick and roll heavy offense with arguably the best pick and roll point guard in the league for years struggle in the playoffs. Yep. So what's it going to look like without Damian Lillard in the future? So that's my whole thing, is Chauncey has not proven that he should have any sort of staying power. I understand the situation with this team, but that's why you got to evaluate the process. You got to evaluate what this team is running. Not just, these are the names that play, those names aren't that great, like, it's fine. Anyway.
Yep. Oh, so frustrating.
It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Because people made it out to be Dame's fault. People legitimately made it out to be Dame's fault. He was the only reason this type of offense had any chance of being competent.
Well, according to Gray, that's all that was holding this team back.
Oh, man. Anyway, yeah. Rough out here. Chat, anything else you want us to talk about from this game?
Oh, let's do Tankathon, man. I'm sick of
that. You thanked MGJJ, right? I forget.
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. Shout out to MGJJ for the dono. Appreciate you, man. Okay. Time for good old. Well, let me set up Tankathon. Did you hear the little sound bite in the intro, Eric?
No.
I don't think many people noticed it because I had it pretty quiet. But I had a little rich sound bite. A little rich sound bite. I got it here too. If it'll play. It won't play. Rip. I tried to set up the rich soundbite. I set up 4 audio clips for this. Because this is what we live for, chat. Right? This is what we live for.
It's beginning to look a lot like last year. Every game I watch.
There you go. It's beginning to look a lot like last year, Eric.
Is that what the clip you're trying to play?
Yeah. I need to figure out a way
I
to
love
like
that
play
song.
it to you. I know. Very well done. Yes, it's beginning to look a lot like last year. Actually, it's exactly like last year. We had the same odds at the number 1 pick. Same
It's
odds.
been pretty silent.
Yup. And it's also like a couple years ago, because we're sitting here with like the 12th pick in Tankathon. Thank God we can't lose this one if it goes to 15 and Golden State plays their way into the playoffs. Thank God we don't have to stress about playing games. And thank God that if it does jump into the top 4 and we don't get it, then we get it next year and it's only top 1 protected. And then if they somehow get Cooper Flag, then it's unprotected the next year, right? So like we can't really get screwed on the Golden State pick to Portland like we did with the New Orleans pick to Portland.
Nope.
So yeah, we're in great position, Eric. Great position. We are half a game behind Charlotte. When did Charlotte win? They won last night?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, they beat the Kings, huh? So we're half a game out of 4th. We are 1.5 games away from 6th. So we can make up some ground here. We can make up some ground. We can get it up to 48% chance of the top 4. Anyway, let's simulate it. Let's scroll up. We can talk a little bit about prospects, and then I want to talk trades, and that'll be the stream. At 14 is Phoenix. 13 is Lakers to New Orleans. 12 is Portland via Golden State. So we keep that pick. 11 is OKC via Utah. 10th is Houston via Brooklyn. Look at all these trades. A lot of drafts are going to become like this because of the teams that have traded future unprotected picks. There's a lot of teams that have traded a lot of future unprotected picks, and this is like the first year you're starting to see it really come in play in the lottery. Mm-hmm. Like, that's 4 picks in a row that have been traded. At 9, you got Atlanta. At 8, you got Chicago. At 7, you got Memphis. So the Toronto pick, which would be going to San Antonio, jumps into the top 4, so Toronto keeps it. And at 6, you got the Portland Trailblazers. At 5, you got Detroit moving down.
6 and 12. Wow.
6 and 12. Tough. At 4, you got Charlotte. At 3, you got Toronto. At 2, you got Washington. And at 1, you got the San Antonio Spurs again.
That would suck.
At number 1, who would you take for the Spurs?
Well, this scenario is a little different maybe because they don't have that second lottery pick. But yeah, I'm taking Sar and just running the best 4-5 combo ever maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. This Toronto pick, if it isn't top 6, goes to San Antonio. If they have the chance to take Sar and they like draft for need, which they need a point guard, if they draft for need over Sar, that's a huge mistake if they have the second pick. Because you're going to be able to find a guard. Like, this is a guard-heavy lottery, in my opinion. A guard-heavy first round, actually. I think they're going to be able to find their future point guard with that second pick via Toronto, assuming they get it at 8. Whether it's a Rob Dillingham or if Isaiah Collier's... Why did I say Collier? I'm thinking about international pronunciation because I'm talking about San Antonio. If Isaiah Collier, if he plays his draft stock back up into the top 10 because his draft stock has fallen to like, he might not even go in the lottery now. They should be able to find their point guard with that second draft pick. So, at 1, pair Sar and Wemby together because how do you deal with that? On the offensive side of the floor, that duo defensively would be generational. And they both can shoot. They both can put the ball on the floor. Like, that matchup breaks the NBA, in my opinion. You just have to have good enough players around them, but like long term, how do you deal with that? You don't. Like that's next to impossible to match up with. And defensively, it is 2 anchors that can switch out and guard on the perimeter and protect the rim at a super elite level. So yeah, San Antonio should absolutely go Sar. Like, 2 Washington. Who would you go with?
So if Sar's off
Yes.
the table, it's so hard without knowing like measurements and stuff yet. But I'm probably going. I think they trade Kuzma this year, so I'm probably going Buzelis.
Buzelis at 2. The thing is with him, he shot the ball rough in G League. Like, his draft stock was potentially like number 1 pick going into the season. He's shooting like 22% from the G League. I think it's just a slump. I think he's legitimately a solid shooter. I think it might be him getting adjusted to the NBA 3-point line and all that. I do like Buzelis there. They have they have a lot of like wings, but I don't think they keep them all. Because you got Avdia, you got Kuzma, you got Koulibaly. Jordan Poole plays the 2. Interesting. 3, Toronto, that's where things get interesting. I mean, they've needed like a point guard, a lead guard. I know they just traded for Quickly, but like I feel like that's Nikola Topic right there is who they would go with, at least right now. They just traded OG, so maybe they bring in Ron Holland, but you got RJ Barrett who can play the 3. I have a gut feeling they'd go Topic there. I do not like Topic top 3, but if they go Topic there at 4, Charlotte goes...
They just take Holland.
Yeah, they probably just take Holland. Although I could see them going for like a Jacoby Walter.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5, Detroit is... They got a lot of pieces. They just suck. I don't know. This draft is hard to predict, hard to mock right now. I'm just trying to see who would be left on the board for
Walter
Portland.
there.
I think Holland and Walter go 4 and 5 in either order, whatever, you know. So at 6, who are you taking then? Assuming Walter's off the board, Ron Holland's off the board, Topic's off the board, Sar's off the board, and Buzelis is off the board.
Well, I know who the Blazers would take in this situation to make you mad.
Who would they take? Oh, Risa Shea?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean...
Dude, I don't know what the frick I do with this position. I think maybe you just... You reach on... I don't know how to say his name. Tijane Saloon, whatever.
Yeah, I know he's been rising up draft boards.
Just like reach on.
So I watched the Locked
or
On.
take Collier, man. I don't know.
Reed Shepherd. Honestly, Reed Shepherd, like with that Golden State pick, if we're gonna move off one of our guards, like he is kind of ideal as the 3rd guard off of whoever. Like he's very impressive shooter, like phenomenal shooter, can play some defense and like secondary playmaker. I feel like he fits as a 3rd guard. But the problem is we got so many guards, like if we're not moving off of one to Simons, Sharp, or Scoot, then doesn't really make sense to draft them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about with the 12th pick, not the 6th pick. That's a little too high for Shepherd, but
yeah.
But I watched the Locked On Big Board podcast, and they did a mock draft. Portland was 7 and 11. At 7, they took Tyler Smith.
At 7?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think Tyler Smith's a bad pick, but I don't think you need to reach for him at 6 here or 7. That's weird.
Yeah.
I think it's might be a little bit of a reach at 11 or 12.
Yeah. Well, at 11, they took Salon.
Mm.
And the guy said, it's the Barlow brothers. The guy said,
Yeah.
He's just trying to surround Portland with athleticism and shooting to make it as easy as possible for the guards, for Sharp, for Scoot, for Ant. Which I guess in theory makes some sense, but
Tankathon's a little slow moving people up sometimes. But those guys are 2021 on Tankathon's big board.
yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody's big board is a complete mess right now. Like, I feel like the draft board is as messy at this point in the year as I've ever seen it. Like, I feel like there's no consensus outside of the top 3. But then again, like, who's the top 3? Is there a consensus top 3? There's no consensus number 1. Like, Topic is pretty far up there on a lot of people's boards. So is Sar, so is Holland. So is Buzelis, but if he continues to struggle to shoot, like, he's probably going to drop. And it's a crapshoot after that. I could see, like, Rob Dillingham go, like, 3 or 4. Like, I could see Toronto in this situation liking Rob Dillingham enough as a lead point guard to take him. Like, thinking his upside is higher than anybody else's on the board, and they want to bank on upside. This draft is maybe the most fascinating draft that we've covered with Blazers Uprise. I think it probably is.
Yeah.
This draft is, like, it sucks, but it's also fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's, the prospects being so boring are making it tough.
This will be one of those draft classes that is really interesting to look back on, like, 5 years from now. The thing is like, we got to find the Jaime Hawkes of this draft, because there's probably, like, a Jaime Hawkes in this draft that isn't getting a lot of buzz right now. That's maybe an upperclassman, but will come in and be similar in terms of impact to Jaime Hawkes. We have to find that guy, because I don't think, like, the one-and-done upside guys can't miss at all. I think there's a lot of downside to him. So, I mean, at 6, I'd go Cody Williams. At 6, I'd just go Cody Williams.
Yeah. I don't think that's bad either.
And then at 12, that's when, Salon, Tyler Smith, Khalil Ware, like, Klingon. That's where those types of guys start to make sense. I wouldn't mind Klingon at 12. The thing is, we have solid setters, but...
Did you see who Gavoni said has firmly placed himself as a lottery pick?
Who?
Zach Edey. I couldn't even say it without laughing.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Bro, what? Yeah. Okay, this draft ain't that bad. Dude, Timmy should have went back to Gonzaga. He'd be a first-round pick this year. That's actually hilarious. Man. That's funny. I thought you were going to say, like, Hunter Salas. Which...
Oh, I've seen Salas. Dude.
He's been good.
Dude, I gotta go. Let me see if it's still up. I love going to NBADraft.net.
Oh boy, I can pull it up right now. Let's see.
I love it so much. It's so funny.
Cody Williams still number 1 pick. They got Aaron Bradshaw at 6, Wooga Poplar at 8, Hunter Salas.
Look at 11.
Yeah, Hunter Salas. Hey, he's been good this year.
Can you, Tori? No, like, honestly, I tell you, last year before he transfers out, that Hunter Salas after next season will be a lottery pick. What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm thinking, yeah, he definitely transferred because he wasn't working out in Gonzaga. I would have.
They have Holland 10.
Like, that's crazy, but, like, he was a highly regarded prospect. Like, he has some ability. It's just, yeah. It's crazy. Ronald Holland. I will never call him Ronald Holland. Yeah, that's funny.
Every time I go there and they've updated their board, I get a laugh out of something. It's not even, like, bad or anything. It's just,
yeah,
it's funny.
Didn't Terrence Shannon get arrested for something?
Yeah.
So he's gonna fall off boards.
They have Dillingham 29. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's way too low. Did you watch the guy I posted in the group chat last night?
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I saw who you posted about, but
Do
yeah.
you know who that is?
I've heard of him, but I haven't watched anything on him yet.
What was his name again?
I don't
Like
remember.
Hansen Yang, I think was his name.
Yeah.
There's this like 7'1" big man from China that can like really pass the ball, really good footwork, like isn't a good shooter yet, but like has good form, has good touch on like floaters and stuff. He's kind of intriguing if you're ever gonna find like the next Jokic in the second round, like I don't know. The Blazers got some second round picks. I wouldn't mind throwing one at that guy, just because he's like 7'1". He's not athletic by any means, but and then the Locked On Big Board turned me on to a couple guys that I want to watch more now that I'm a little excited about. Trenton Flowers is a little intriguing to me, just because he's athletic and can kind of handle and shoot.
I found that tweet from Jonathan Gabodi. Let me just read this real quick.
All right, let's hear it.
Zach Edey is now a projected lottery pick after finding another gear with his conditioning, mobility, and productivity. He has shown better versatility blocking shots and stepping outside the paint defensively while dunking and drawing fouls in bunches.
Just say this year's draft class sucks.
Yeah.
Dude, even NBA.net isn't loving Zach Edey.
You know, someone who I saw a tweet to keep an eye on, and he's rising up a lot of boards. He's a little older, but it's Jackson Robinson from BYU.
Oh, yeah.
He just turned 21, so not quite as bad as like Tumani and Chris and stuff, but
I need to watch him. Cause I hadn't heard of him, or at least I didn't remember him until he got selected. I think like 28th in that Locked On Big Board podcast I watched. Like they had him going 28th. So that's like a guy to look into. There will be players this year more than ever that like go from like irrelevancy to projected late first round pick because this draft isn't as good. So any new names are a little fascinating to me. Like Dalton Connect is a guy I think will rise into the top 20.
yeah.
He's athletic. He has size. He's been shooting the lights out of the ball.
So this guy's got like the Ryan Repair frame. Is like 6'6" with over a 7-foot wingspan. Let me just find his stats here. He's shooting 41.4% from three on 7.3 attempts per game in college. That's insane. 92.3% from the free throw line,
Jeez.
although it's only 1.1, so it's a little misleading, maybe not a huge sample size. But yeah,
That's
good
intriguing.
good small forward size, can hit the three and play defense. I don't know.
I think you're going to be able to find some like small forward shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I think like forward shooters, there's a decent amount. Like Tristan Da Silva can shoot the ball. He's shooting 39% from 3 on 4.5 attempts a game, and he's like a legitimate 6'8", 6'9". Dalton Connect is another guy with small forward size that can shoot. Jackson Robinson, the guy you just brought up. You got PJ Hall at Clemson. He's 6'10". He's shooting 40% from 3.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to find some forwards that shoot. I think the key is, do any of these forwards have upside as creators? Because that's what's lacking, I feel like, in this year's draft, is forwards with upside in terms of creation.
Yeah.
Like, Risa Shea, I'm not super high on him with where he's projected because I'm not optimistic about his creation upside. And I feel like if you're going to draft a player top 5, top 6, they have to have some level of creation upside because that's where you have the highest ceiling, is if you have the upside to be somebody that you can run offense through. Obviously, you need to be able to do a little bit more, but that's why I'm higher on a Jacoby Walter or a Rob Dillingham right now than Risa Shea. Because, yeah, I know they're guards, they're not forwards, so they are naturally going to be able to create more. I just think for their position, they have more creation upside and more upside in general because of it.
It's so hard not factoring in like Blazer needs with like just trying to look at prospects and judge them based on how I would see them if I wasn't a Blazer fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But that's why I like Cody Williams. That's why I take him as 6. Is I feel like Cody Williams has creation upside.
Yeah, and he's got the size, and he's freaking young, and yeah, I agree with all that.
Yep. That's why Kevin McCullough, I feel like, will go lottery. It's because he can handle pass on top of other things. Like you look how like Ogbashi went from 2nd round prospect to the 14th pick, which is lottery in his draft class. At least I think he was the 14th pick. I think Kevin McCullough will be much in the same way. But the way I'm probably going to tier things is like my top tier is going to be guys with upside. And then at some point that tier will stop. And then I'll start valuing like high floor, NBA ready, like should be a good role player. Like at some point it will go from the tier where you're valuing upside to like now you're starting to value high floor, you know, solid role player type guys. So there will be like a little bit of a change. It's just how many guys have an upside to put him in that top tier for me is kind of how I'm viewing the draft. Because like guys like Reed Shepherd, Risa Shea will probably be at the top of that next tier. So it's like which guys have enough upside for me to put him over somebody who I'm not bullish on his upside in a Risa Shea. Like Rob Dillingham has a chance. Jacoby Walter. I don't know how many other guys work their way up into that. Carrington from, where did he go? Pittsburgh might be another guy, but it's like all guards. So
that's why maybe you just take the best one and hope he turns into a star and you have a trade piece.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what I was saying like earlier. Is like especially with 2 picks potentially in the lottery. That first one, I think you just got to swing on upside. The second one, you can take a solid role-playing forward. There will be a solid role-playing forward there. I just don't think there's much difference between the forwards. I understand if they go like Risa Shea at 6 and then like Khalil Ware at 12. It's just, this team needs to find a star frontcourt player. And if they can't find a star frontcourt player, maybe they should just try and find a star, even if it's a guard / shooting guard small forward type, because then you can trade for that star frontcourt player. At the end of the day, I think they need a star in the frontcourt and a creator in the frontcourt. This draft, unfortunately, does not set up in a way to easily put them in that position to get that player. If this team is better next year, they're probably not going to be able to draft it next year. So then it becomes you're probably going to have to trade for it with the future picks that you have, which means you got to cash in for Malcolm Brogdon. Maybe trade Jeremy Grant down the line to have enough draft pick capital so that you can trade for that star frontcourt player in 2026, 2027, whenever. If that makes sense.
It does. Javon says we should declare for the draft. Dude, I'm 44 years old. I'm not declaring for it.
Dude, I think you could go first round. Just kidding. But that's funny. Draft what Murray was supposed to be. See, like, there's enough guys that are shooting better than Chris Murray did last year from 3 in college. Where if you're trying to find that shooting 4, shooting 3, like, what's funny is Tristan da Silva's mocked in the second round. I would take him 10 times out of 10 over Chris Murray. Because I think he's a better shooter. He's a better passer. Everything else I feel like is kind of similar. But yeah, have you watched any Trenton Flowers?
Not enough to really.
I've barely watched him, but he's like athletic, moves decently with the ball, and is 6'8". At least that's where he's listed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's shooting 36% from 3 in the NBL, like solid. So he's one of those guys where maybe he has a little sneaky upside. He's young too.
Yeah.
Just trying to find forwards with upside, man. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
It is tough. Anyway, let's talk trades and then we'll wrap up this post game. Chat, who do you want us to talk trades about? We talked about Brogdon earlier today on our second channel. We can revisit some stuff with him though. How do you guys watch all these dudes? You find a way. You find a way. Eric DVRs a lot of games. I watch some games, but I'm more scouting report videos because it's tough for me to find the time. And it's tough to just commit to watching as much tape as Eric does. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I fall asleep a lot. Have to rewatch games because college basketball is brutal sometimes.
Yeah. Especially with me, like a lot of my stuff is like movement patterns / are you capable of making an advanced read?
Well, that's why I like to watch the games instead of just like highlights or scouting reports because like I feel like I don't get that just watching a scouting video. I just get what someone thinks of him. But like I like to watch him move off ball and stuff myself.
What's funny is sometimes I feel like the more I watch actual games of players compared to scouting videos, the less accurate I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Like
they just have to copy someone else's.
Well, no, I mean, it's not copying someone else's. Like, I'll watch scouting report where, like, somebody is like, this is a strength of theirs, but I don't think it translates. You know what I mean? But, like, there's been a number of guys where it's like, I've ended up really liking them in the second round. Mm-hmm. Just based on what I've seen in a scouting report video, and then they ended up being steals. Like, you remember, like, you know, I've listed some examples. One guy that I forget to list because he did end up going 25th is Emmanuel Quickley. He was projected very late second round, and I had a borderline, like, first round grade on him, like, right where he got drafted. And when he got drafted, everybody was saying it was a reach. I didn't mind it. I don't know if you remember that. Or like Quickley was a guy just because I liked the way he moved with the ball. Like he was shifty enough. I felt like he was going to be able to get to his spots in the league.
Yeah.
Now it's always easy to sit here and say like this Kentucky guard will be better than people expected because Kentucky guards are always better than people expect. The Kentucky bump is like a real thing, and he was one of them. But then again, there are guys that doesn't work out for, like Ashton Higgins. You know, I wasn't high on him. He was a Kentucky guard. Now he's on the Rip City Rubiks. He's not in the league.
Dude,
I was actually rewatching that draft, and we even talked about Higgins a little bit. Yeah,
I watched a remix game a couple weeks ago against Ignite, and Higgins was like the best player on the court. He was unstoppable.
What's
I was
funny?
like, dude, this guy is awesome. Like, what the?
The G League is weird. Where like one game it'll be like he's the best player on the court, and the next game he'll be like very mediocre, and it'll be like Malachi Smith will go off.
Yeah.
I mean, Malachi Smith has had a couple of games where like he's went off, yeah, and then for the most part he's like mediocre. So it's just like it varies so much with a lot of those guys. I want to hear a reaction to OG trade. Yeah, we haven't talked about OG trade yet. Reaction to OG trade. What are your thoughts, Eric?
I was like, I don't know, I think it's a win for both teams. However, the more I think about it, the more I like it for Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, because uh, I really like Quickly, like you were just saying,
Yeah.
and I think he's kind of exactly what they've needed out of a lead guard, and he had a really good game tonight. And so I think that having him now a little bit will depend on what they sign him to in the offseason, but they do have his restricted rights so they can match, and they have his bird rights so they can go over the cap and all that stuff. But I think he's just going to explode once. I mean, he's playing really passive. Like, I think he's kind of scared to take over and be too aggressive, but he's getting like anywhere he wants on the court so far in the first two games for Toronto, and I think he can actually score a lot more than he has once he starts knowing his teammates and feeling comfortable to not. It's kind of like what I feel like Dame is still doing this actually, where he's kind of just like still trying to fit in and set up teammates. But I think so. I think Quickly is going to maybe be the best player in this trade, and I also think RJ Barrett's kind of a meme on social media,
Yeah.
but like he's not terrible. Like, I mean, he's not like a star player, and he's not like a third pick level player like he was. And his contract isn't good, so there are some negatives with him. But he's also not like the worst player in the league or anything. Like, the guy can play a little bit. He's just not the greatest shooter. So I think as long as he's not trying to take over games and fitting in, I think it'll be fine. And then they get what'll end up being the 31st pick, because they got Detroit's second round pick. So not too bad of a draft pick. And then when I turn to New York side of it.
Well, can I talk about Toronto?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think on their side of it, Quickly works because you got Scotty Barnes and Siakam. Because the one thing with Quickly is he has point guard size, but he's a two guard. He's not. Maybe he can grow into being a little bit more of a playmaker for others, but like, I think for like a point guard, he's a little bit below average as a passer, court vision, etc. But that's fine when you got.
But I think he might improve that.
He might. The thing is like he doesn't necessarily need to when you got two playmaking forwards next to him, because they can handle some of that responsibility, and he can play off them, and then he can make plays with the ball in his hands. Like, that is the next area of improvement for him, and maybe he can. Like, I'm not gonna write that off. He's still 24 years old, so he definitely can improve his playmaking. You know, we've seen it with Simons, we've seen it with Tyrese Maxey. Like, he could be the next guy where next year he's 20, maybe the rest of the season in Toronto he's a 20-point per game scorer and gets 5 assists. I do think it works well with Siakam and Scotty Barnes, because those guys can both make plays for others, handle the ball, etc. So it's not all on him being like the lead guard and the point guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you say for Toronto. I just think they needed to trade OG earlier. They could have gotten more if they traded him earlier. And they waited for no reason.
Well, I don't know, because I keep thinking about this. Like, let's just say the rumors were true that they got offered the 3 firsts last year for OG, which is probably true. But those picks were also mostly all lottery protected and stuff. So 3 picks like in the 20s or something. I don't know. I think Quickly might be worth that. And then like I said, you get the 31st pick on top of that.
Could they have gotten Shaden Sharp?
Well, obviously,
I would probably rather have Shaden Sharp than Quickly and Barrett, because I think Barrett's overpaid.
Well, he'd be under contract still for 2.5 more years too. Yeah. If they would have gotten Hart in the 7th pick, sure. But there's no guarantee that Sharp is better than Quickly either. So I don't know.
No guarantee. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is a negative trade for them. I just feel like Masai probably passed up on something that was better because he was too stingy. Because that's the one thing with Masai is he's too stingy.
Yeah.
And this got to the point where like he needed to make this trade. So if you just look at it like in the situation he was in this year, sure, good trade. I think when you look at the past, I feel like maybe he should have just traded him sooner. Because that's the one thing with Toronto is they're still like, what's their direction? How are they going to get to contention by adding winning players? Like, I'm not sure. It just feels like this trade does feel slightly like just reshuffling chairs, and it's not going to amount to all that much. And I also, at the end of the day, do they have to trade Siakam? They might.
Yeah.
So then are they in rebuild mode? You got Scotty Barnes. You got Quickly, who's 24, who can fit that.
I mean, they suck.
You keep your pick.
They're not good anyway, so you might as well trade them. I think they're better off.
Yeah, because Siakam's going to be a free agent. Mm-hmm. So, like, I like this trade better if you're like, okay, Quickly, we like his pairing with Barnes, we're going to enter rebuild mode. But in order to truly enter rebuild mode, I feel like they just need to trade Siakam then. Yeah. So if they trade Siakam and go that direction, like, okay, good job, you accepted a direction instead of continuously trying to make a playing game without it ever amounting to anything.
Well, I feel like, too, them waiting until they're both expiring and the year they're expiring made it. So I think if they make this trade even with New York, they get Quickly and a first-round pick, maybe, or maybe multiple first-round picks on top of Quickly if they trade him a year sooner or something.
Yeah. Yep. And then as far as New York goes, what are your thoughts?
Well, if you're just looking at it from a team building perspective on the court, I think it's a definite upgrade at the 3. And I think he is going to fit in very nicely with that offense. And I completely see why they made a big move to get him. And they also didn't trade any of their first-round picks. They still have Evan Fournier's contract and some other contracts, so they can still match salary and make a big trade still, so it doesn't prevent them from doing that. But I keep thinking of this, and this is why, like Jonathan Evers said in chat, that he thought they should have traded Siakam and kept OG in this situation. But here's the problem. OG wants $40 million or something like that next contract. And
they're gonna have to pay his ass, man.
And that's my problem with New York. It's like right now it's fine and it's good and he's an upgrade. But if you have to give him like 5 years, $200 million or something this summer, and I don't know about that, man. It's a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you know what they're gonna run into? I mean, that's the thing is salary issues, because I still don't think they have a player that's good enough to be the best player on a championship team. Like, I know Becky Hammond say that, and she got heat, but I think she was right.
Yeah,
can Jalen Brunson really be the best player on a championship team?
I mean, I don't necessarily like that question, because if you had, I don't know, just 4 like all-star level players that aren't quite as good as Brunson, I don't know.
I think he's a great number 2.
Yeah.
I think he's a great number 2.
But who's a forward they could get that's like better? Because like obviously you wouldn't want a guard.
There's not, and they have a lot of picks, right? So they should be in play for a star that becomes available. The thing is, but who becomes available is the question, I guess.
Well, Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yes.
I don't think he's a good fit with Brunson though. Like I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like those are both guys that need the ball in their hands to be effective, I think. And so I don't know. If I'm them, I'm not going all in on Mitchell anymore. I'm looking for more of a forward.
Here's the problem I got too is I don't think Julius Randle is good in the playoffs.
Oh, well, yeah.
Like, he is not a good enough number 2 in the playoffs for Brunson to be a number 1, even if you think Brunson is, like, borderline good enough to be the best player on a championship team. Mm-hmm. So, to me, they need another star-caliber offensive player so that you don't have to rely on Julius Randle so much in the playoffs. He's been brutal in the playoffs, both years that he's made the playoffs with the Knicks. You still need that star. The good news is they got a lot of picks. The bad news is, salary-wise, assuming you're trading Fournier plus filler for him, you're paying, starting next year, OG Anunoby potentially like $40 million or whatever, something crazy. I don't know. Julius Randle, $28 million. Jalen Brunson, $26 million. Josh Hart, $18 million. Mitchell Robinson, $16 million. He can't stay healthy. Dante DiVincenzo, $11 million. Plus whatever star you get, that is... maybe DiVincenzo's salary is included for the star. I don't know. But that is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think, like, OG is a really good pickup if they go out and get that star because he's just a perfect complementary piece. I just don't think this team is contention level yet. They were barely above 500 without OG. Sure, they made the second round last year, but like they're not good enough to beat the Bucks or the Celtics in a 7-game series. At least once the Bucks, I think the Bucks will be better at the end of the year than they are now. I think OG maybe gives them a little bit more of a puncher's chance because he can guard Giannis, I guess. He can guard Dame, like he can guard 4 or 5 positions. He can be that lockdown defender that can maybe slow a star caliber player down, but I still think they just need another star to even have a chance of competing with Boston, especially.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But I think that's a different conversation than if Brunson can lead a team, because I think, like, if we're talking about like putting him on the 2004 Pistons or whatever, I think they're fine. Like, I think they could win, possibly.
I mean, they were a perfect team. Like, they are the outlier. That Pistons team is the outlier, right? Also, you have more, like, super high-level caliber offensive players in today's NBA. I don't know. It'd have to be a complete outlier year where they're, like, just, like, kind of the perfect team around a Jalen Brunson. I just don't think Julius Randle fits into that equation as the number 2 guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my problem.
Agreed.
So, anyway.
They're kind of stuck with him.
My guy is cooking. Which guy, Arrow? Shout out to Foot Musa, 503, $2 donation. Says, love the show, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Appreciate the donation.
It's fine. He's talking about the double overtime game going on right now between the Kings and the Magic.
Banchero has 43. Suggs has 24. Apparently just hit back-to-back triples. Suggs is 6 for 11 from behind the three-point line. Suggs is still 22 years old. He's a good player, man. Shooting 36% from 3 this year, 45% from the field. I'm just surprised his like passing hasn't had more of an impact at the NBA, because he threw freaking dimes in college, and now he's not a point guard, but he's a lockdown guy and knocking down threes right now. So you love to see it. I like that Magic team, but I picked the Kings in picks against the spread, so. Bad picks against the spread day for me, man.
Very bad.
If the Kings can win by more than 4, then I'm 6-7, which I'll take that at this point. breaks my streak of days above 500, but how's I supposed to know OKC would lose to the Hawks? Is Chet an all-star?
I don't know. It's tough for rookies to make the All-Star game, but I think he's definitely a fringe All-Star.
I think impact-wise, he's definitely an all-star. I think if you're just going off like stats, it's a little different. Like, it's not as clear-cut, but I mean,
Trevin says my 2021 mock offseason trade, where I traded the 3rd pick for the 4th pick in a future first, Jalen Green for Jalen Suggs, is looking better.
yeah, it is looking better. It is looking better. My mock offseason trade of for Jalen Johnson last year is looking better and better.
Heck yeah, it is.
He went off today, man. He went off today. I don't even remember. I'm going to have to go back through the thread. If you guys don't know what we're talking about with the mock offseason, every offseason in like May, we have 28 other people join me and Eric, and we all control teams and run through a mock offseason following all CBA rules. It takes place in our Discord. We do trades, draft, free agency. So if you want to keep up with that, make sure you join our Discord, because it is, you are able, even if you're not participating in it, you are able to keep up with it through the Discord threads that we have. Yeah, I traded the 33rd pick and a 2025 second-round pick for Jalen Johnson and a 46th pick. That was a steal, Eric.
Who was the Hawks?
I don't remember.
Is it Colt?
I think it was Colt.
He was in chat.
That was one of those things where it's like he, at the time, it like doesn't look like much because he hadn't broken out yet, but that was a guy I felt like had the talent to break out, so I took a flyer. And then in real life, he breaks out. It's good to see. It's good to see. But like, that's the type of trade the Blazers need to make, dude. Like, I'm sure he's probably untouchable or whatever, but
if they trade him in the Siakam trade, they're so dumb.
See, if I was Toronto, that's the guy I'm trying to get.
No, I know, but like, if you're the Hawks, like, you have him under a rookie contract and you're going to trade for someone, you're going to have to pay a max too. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like they either need to do something like the Siakam trade or they just need to trade Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like, they need to pick. They are directionless, just like Toronto has been directionless. So if two things can be solved at once, you can trade for Siakam and like finally have like a second star next to Trae Young, because it wasn't DeJounte Murray. He's not a star. And then Toronto goes rebuild route, and you solve two problems with one trade. Even though, yeah, I don't agree with trading Jalen Johnson for him.
There's 4 seconds left. Magic have the ball down 3.
Miss a shot and then foul the Kings.
What was the spread? 4.5 or something?
I think it was just 4.
Oh, I have it right now. It's 4.5.
Was it 4.5?
Yeah.
Or hit a 3 and send it to a third overtime. Paulo Banchero misses shot at the buzzer. Rip. Kings beat the Magic. Banchero missed a shot at the buzzer. He had 43 though, 13 for 25, and got to the free throw line 14 times.
Shot was 2 and 6 at one point today after the Blazer game, and ended up going 8 and 6.
Really?
Yeah.
We got lucky, bro. I was so ready to pass him. I'm sad.
I did bad. 5 and 8.
I went 5 and 8 too. What did Arrow go?
Brooklyn was like, I don't know what Arrow went, but Brooklyn was like winning that whole game, and then all of a sudden I look and they're down like double digits. I'm like, what the heck?
So I'm 2 games behind chat. Did anybody do good today? Chase did well.
Steven might have been.
Steven was 6-5 at last check. Arrow's posting the updated. Yeah, so Chase went 8-5. Steven Crushables went 7-6. Chat went 8-6. I went 5-8. I'm 3 games behind Chat. I was half a game behind Chat. How am I 3 games behind Chat? Oh, I guess that makes sense. 2.5. Yeah. Okay.
They had the extra game.
Yeah. I was just trying to do the mental math. None of us did. Like 5-8 was the worst record, and 8-6 was the best record. Given how much we disagreed on picks, it's pretty even. But when you look at double downs, the only person to go 1-0 on double downs was Chase. Trevin and Chad had to pick 2. They both went 1-1, and then everybody else lost their double down. Part of that is 3 people double down on the Blazers for some freaking reason. I don't know why they did that to themselves, and then 3 of us double down on the Thunder. The 3 of us that only picked 1. So, rough day. Rough day. Collectively, we went 74 and 84.
That's better than I thought we were going to do.
Yeah. It's an 11.5 point spread, and the Mavs haven't been playing well recently. Well, you know what we are, Eric? We're teams get right game.
Yep.
Chase doubled down on the Mavs. Yeah, I should have doubled down on the Mavs, man. I had no confidence in this team going into this game. So trade talk. I want them to aggressively pursue a Jeremy Grant trade. They don't have to do it if the right deal's not out there, but like the more and more the season goes on, the more and more I'm just like ready to cash in on him.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do it. If Siakam goes elsewhere, I would immediately call up Atlanta and be like, "You interested in Jeremy Grant?"
Yeah.
I don't think they'd trade Jalen Johnson for him. They would be ridiculously stupid to do so. But you pursue a trade in case a team's willing to give up a Jalen Johnson for him. Because here's the thing. People love Grant because he scores 22 a game and knocks down threes. You need guys that can do that and then little things. Or guys that maybe score a little bit less but still are efficient, still can knock down threes, but then also are more well-rounded defensively and better rebounders. Jalen Johnson averaging 8 rebounds a game. That's like double the rebounds that Jeremy Grant is averaging. Jalen Johnson, I think, is a little better passer. He's shooting 41% from 3 right now. 59% for the field. He's 22 years old. Like, I would trade Jeremy Grant for him in a heartbeat if it was possible. It's 99, like I'd say probably like 99% chance Atlanta wouldn't do it for Jeremy Grant, but Atlanta's in a weird spot and they might be stupid. Find out if they are. If you're not even listening to calls for him, you don't even know if a team might be willing to do something stupid that works out in your benefit. Because he fits the core. He's on a rookie contract this year, next year. If you could somehow get off 8-2 and get an expiring, all of a sudden you have how much cap space this summer? To take on salaries, accumulate assets with it if possible. Maybe you could sign a couple guys. And all of a sudden you're better next year, but also you have a better young core because you got a guy like Jalen Johnson. Like, that's the type of stuff they need to look at doing. And maybe it's not Jalen Johnson. Maybe it's a Jarris Walker who's like a couple years behind that breakout season, but could be a similar type of player. The thing is Jalen Johnson as a rookie, nobody cared about him because he didn't really do much as a rookie.
Yeah.
A lot of people are telling me that the Blazers should not even consider trading Jeremy Grant for Jarris Walker. And if the Pacers gave up on him, that would show that, like, yeah, they just did, he just doesn't have it, which makes no sense to me. The thing is you got to trade for these types of young players before they break out. You got to identify them before they break out.
Yep.
And then you can get them at a good price. And then you get great return on value. Return on investment.
Hey, Esfandiar, that is like a Toronto Raptors
Yeah.
Twitter guy. Well, he does NBA stuff too. Now, he deleted a tweet today, but he tweeted something about I forgot the agent's name, but he's Anthony Simon's agent, but I guess RJ Barrett and several Raptors players have this agent. And he also mentioned DeAndre Ayton specifically, and that the Raptors have had interest in Ayton, bringing in Ayton because of his agent in the past.
Sounds good to me.
I know.
DeAndre Ayton, you're a Toronto Raptor. I can pull up Trade Machine and we can look at Ayton Raptors trade here. I didn't set up a window capture for this scene. Let me do
Look at that Pistons pick.
I don't want a 5th pick in this year's draft. Like I don't.
No. The 31st pick or whatever.
Yeah, I know. Like that's this year, right?
Would you take Pirtle?
For Ayton, yeah.
I mean, they have to include someone else.
I mean, yeah. Let me pull this up here and we will take a look at it.
Or you just take Trent back and cut him.
Yeah, buy him out because he's expiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a move. That is a move. Okay.
I don't know what's going on with Koloko, so he's got some weird respiratory thing. By the way, Sude asked earlier if we would explore Robert Williams trades. I would not right now, just because his value is so low. I mean, if someone offered us like a first for him or a decent player, but the problem is most rebuilding teams aren't going to want to trade assets for him being hurt, and since he's hurt, no real team that's going for it this year will want him. So it's just tough to move him this year.
Got it. There's no way they'd trade Pirtle and expirings for Ayton, right?
I think they might. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
So Cronin fleeces Masai Ujiri?
I mean, he's going to look at it like we just brought a number 1 pick in. We got Quickly and Ayton. I don't know.
It would be so stupid for a team to make that mistake right after Joe Cronin obviously made that mistake. The Raptors just make no sense for Ayton. I mean, but if they have interest, dude, I would probably like, Thibault plus Ayton.
Can Thibault go to Canada now?
What do you mean?
Remember, it was with Philly and he couldn't go.
Oh, yeah. And what, you take... I don't know, man. The thing is, they'd have to trade out a little bit more because ain't going into the tax. Wait. So they need to trade... Okay, so... Would you do Pirtle? Or would you do Brogdon and Ayton for Pirtle, Trent, Thad Young, and Otto Porter Jr.? The only one that's not expiring is Pirtle.
No, I'm not doing that.
What more would they have to throw in for you to do it?
A first.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, that's funny.
No, I'm not using Brogdon to get. I think you can get rid of Ayton without giving up Brogdon. I think there's a team.
Okay, well, give me a suggestion.
As another team or with Toronto?
Another team.
Um, I heard some stuff that the Nets might be interested in Aiden.
Honestly, I laugh at that, but like any team that has interest in him, I feel like I would laugh at. So
I know, really, really.
I'm just laughing at has interest in him. They got Claxton. Why?
They are really worried about Claxton leaving this summer. So this would be a way to get a center that they
Why
have
are they
locked
worried
up.
about Claxton leaving?
Well, he hasn't been great. He hasn't been as good as he was last year. Sharp's been playing better for them.
So they're gonna trade for a setter that wasn't as good last year and is making a max?
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know, but like they have Ben Simmons. I mean, is Ben Simmons really worse if you're looking at it from their perspective, trading Ben Simmons for Ayton or something? You know, like
Yeah, Ben Simmons just makes $5 million more.
yeah.
So we'd also have to trade like
so
Bible?
so here we go. Yeah. What I was thinking is just a mega trade. I think I deleted it, but Ayton and Brogdon, and we get back Claxton as well, and you hope you can offer him like 480 or something this offseason.
Yeah.
And then you get Ben back, obviously, to match salary, which sucks, but I think it's a necessary thing in this.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to include a little more salary. So
Do they?
There's the new trade rules for teams over the.
Well, they're still under the if Fanspo says they're still under the tax. It's 125% or 7.5 mil. It works under 7.5 mil, so it would work in this scenario. I actually don't think they'd have to trade out anymore. Because
I just think maybe they would want to. Then
it's 125%. So.
Yeah, so I would say I was trying to think of like a third team that would take Royce. Because I think he's the only other like sizable contract they take. So
yeah, say like maybe if they wanted to dump another salary, but like this works. Portland would get a approximately $13 million trade exception. Because Ayton matches Simmons, so then it'd be Brogdon minus Claxton for the trade exception.
Yeah.
That's kind of fascinating. I mean, you're taking a gamble on Claxton, and you're dealing with Simmons' contract.
Claxton's 24 years old. You get a couple years younger, and also you get more of a rim running big that would work, I think, more long
my
term.
question is,
Sharp.
how is this much different than the Toronto trade that you said no to?
Because Claxton's younger than Pirtle, and I like his.
I like
ability.
Claxton too.
I like his ability to switch better than Pirtle.
Yes, 100%. I like Claxton for those reasons, but also Pirtle's under contract, so you know you're not going to lose him. Where Claxton, it's a risk.
Yeah.
So in the end, the upsides and the downsides, do they cancel out? Is my question.
Well, I mean, if Claxton leaves, then you still got off Ayton's contract.
Yeah, but then you still have more salary than you'd have in that Toronto trade because you'd have Ben Simmons.
Right.
So that's how I feel like it's kind of similar. In the end, it just depends on if you think you can keep Claxton or not, because if you can keep him, like, it makes sense for sure.
Because it was looking like he was going to get a huge contract last summer. Right now, I would say you could probably get him for around $20 million a year, which I think is a steal. And I just think he's.
See, if you can get rid of Ayton in other ways and then have that cap space,
yeah,
Then Portland tries to sign Claxton.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like that's part of the reason why like I'd love to have some free agent money to throw at a guy like Claxton.
True. I just think like getting him here might give you a leg up. Well, I mean,
I
he
agree.
might be able to develop some chemistry with the younger guys, and
Scoot can throw him some lobs, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like getting a guy in
Claxton and Robert Williams are our centers next year, and
so Claxton
Bajie and Reith are.
You mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it would be awesome for Robert Williams to stay healthy, and you had Claxton. Like those two guys defensively are awesome at the 5, awesome, and Chauncey loves switching. Well, you got Robert Williams III and Nick Claxton. Then like. You could actually say those are his kind of centers, and it would actually make some sort of sense. And they got Ben.
And then when Ben Simmons comes back and returns to All-Star form.
Yeah.
Just joking.
Meanwhile, we shoot 22% from 3 on the year.
I mean, Ben could play center too.
Yeah. I feel like shooting would still be a problem. Major problem. That's interesting. Definitely would try and get like protected first, but it'd be tough.
I don't think anyone's given us that much value for Aiden, Kyle.
What did he say?
Aiden to Chicago for DeRozan, Drummond, our first back, and a 2028 first.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
No way. That's too much for Aiden. Aiden doesn't have value like that.
I still think if you called Charlotte and offered Aiden for Gordon Hayward, I think they would do it. I think you can get him to throw in one of their centers too.
Which I don't think they throw in Mark Williams, but if they do, you do that.
No, yeah, they did. It's probably Richards, but that'll make Aeromancer happy. But
yeah, I just don't see a need for like Richards. I mean, he's cheap and serviceable. He's better than Bajie, but is he better than Reith?
I mean, then don't take the center back. I don't care.
No, I know. I'm just at the end of the day, like this is just clean salary dump. If you want to dump him, maybe you can get a future second or two. I don't know, but yeah, if you just want to dump them, if Charlotte's willing to do this, then this is their out, right? Where they can fall back on this if they really don't want to pay him any longer. Like the thing is, though, Eric, with this mystery knee problem, it makes it a lot iffier.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like
unless they're trying to trade him and they don't want him to get hurt, and he doesn't have any.
The Ayton situation is quietly a mess, man. And like nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just I also think like another team that maybe would have interest is Orlando. Wendell Carter Jr. has been like hurt all year. He's injury prone. Like they've been starting Batadze. He's been okay. They kind of need some offense. They got 2 playmaking forwards that should have an easy time throwing lobs to Ayton if he actually freaking rolls. I think Orlando could have some interest.
Jonathan says the one problem though is that if trades like this existed, I'm sure Phoenix would have done it themselves. I don't think they would have traded Ayton for Gordon Hayward. I don't think they even looked at that kind of trade.
They needed a starting center back. That's why they did it for Nurkic.
And then also,
and like if we're throwing in Brogdon, then
Claxton was untouchable last year, so they could have done Ayton for Ben Simmons, but they weren't going to do that either. Like you said, then what do they do at center when Ben Simmons is out?
Yeah, that adds salary instead of saves them the little bit of money they did
And,
save. So.
and like I said, Claxton was pretty much untouchable last summer.
And let me just say this: like I know,
play.
yeah, I know Grayson Allen was just like kind of a throw-in when the trade was made, but he's been really good for them this year.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a throw-in for them. Like Phoenix actually wanted a player like that. That was the only thing missing from the Blazers offer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have just taken whatever the Blazers offered.
Yeah. So also like a couple of those trade packages we were throwing in Brogdon too. So you're throwing in Brogdon, that's extra value that Phoenix didn't have. But I think as far as the Magic goes, they have a lot of forwards. They have some defenders. Jonathan Isaac's been out. You include his expiring contract. It's not guaranteed next year. You buy him out.
Yeah.
Just instantly buy him out. And then I don't understand why they paid Joe Ingles what they did, but
It's needed a bet, yeah.
yeah. You could go like Gary Harris, maybe for Ayton. Like this is a salary dump. If you can get back a little extra value out of it, you do. But like if you're just looking to dump Ayton's salary, these are two expirings. And I think Orlando could have some interest in Ayton, so maybe you can extract a little extra value.
Yeah.
You know, in best case scenario, maybe you could even get Denver's 2025 first, which is obviously going to be very late.
If you could undo the Ayton for Nurkic trade, would you? I don't think I would because of Kamara, but
I wouldn't because of Kamara. If you could undo it and keep Kamara, I would.
yeah.
I would. Because it would be easier to move Nurk and Little, I think. Like,
Yeah,
it's going to be
I don't know.
tough to move Ayton.
I think all of them are tough to move, but
Yeah, I mean, Ayton's just... If his knee is actually messed up, that contract becomes one of the most unmovable contracts in the league.
yeah.
And the only way, like, maybe the only way you move it is if you get another unmovable contract like Ben Simmons.
Yeah. And this is what I've been saying for a couple weeks now. It's not about whether they should have traded for Aiden or not. I think the move itself was fine. If you want to give up Nas and Nurk and Keon for Ayton, I think that's, even if you don't like Ayton, I think that's a relatively reasonable move. But the thing is, when it starts to not work out, or it's apparent that it's probably not going to work out long term with a guy like Ayton, I think it's important to not get stuck in a situation where you're like, well, I have to keep him and he has to be a star because that's my legacy's on the line as a GM or whatever. I think you gotta be able to move and cut your losses when you realize that's not working out. And like you said, if you get stuck with an injury that's more serious than tendonitis, or if he, let's say he doesn't play for like 2 months or something and teams get scared off, then he's got negative value on that contract. So yeah.
I have an interesting question for you.
All right.
If Anthony Black got thrown into this trade for our first round pick that was like top 3 protected, would you do it?
Wait, what was it?
Anthony Black gets thrown into this trade for our first round pick that's top 3 protected. Would you do it? I know you weren't the biggest Anthony Black fan in last year's draft, but...
Wait, so we're giving up a first?
Yeah, we get back Anthony Black.
But we're giving up our 2021.
Our 2024 top 3 protected, though.
No.
Like, would you rather have the 4th pick or Anthony Black, I guess is my question. Like, I don't think they'd include Anthony Black. This is just kind of an interesting question because I know you weren't the highest on him, but like given this year's draft, I'd probably rather have Anthony Black than the 4th pick.
if I was a different team, maybe I consider that, but not the Blazers. Those I don't want another guard who can't shoot on my roster.
I like Anthony Black. You'd trade for Asar though.
Arsar is not a guard in my mind. I think he's a small forward.
I mean, how tall is Anthony Black? 6'7"?
I mean, height's not.
I know it's not everything, but I think he can play some three.
He plays like a point guard. Asir plays like a forward.
And Anthony Black this year is shooting 35% from three on 1.5 attempts a game. I don't know. I like Anthony Black. I think he could be interesting for Portland, but just that well-rounded, elite defensive upside, guard/wing, big guard/wing.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have him than the fourth pick. Part of that is how low I am on this year's draft. Like, if I knew who I would want in the top four, then probably a different conversation. But is there any other trades that make sense for Aiden in your mind? Obviously, there's a number of teams out there, so
yeah, I mean,
come up with everything. But
I don't. Now that the Mavericks have Lively, I don't think they'd be interested in many more.
With the Lakers, this feels like a Lakers type of move, man.
I don't think they would. I definitely think the Lakers are in play for Grant or Brogdon, but not.
The Warriors, maybe. I don't know. I could see the Warriors being desperate. You're just looking for a desperate team that doesn't have an entrenched center. So the Warriors, I guess. But they love screens in that offense, so. Man. Doesn't make sense for the Pelicans. They need a center that can stretch the floor next to Zion. Yeah.
The Pistons are 100% not trading for DeAndre Ayton. We have to bring this up every single stream. They are not trading for Ayton while Monty Williams is there.
By a team that's desperate, I mean a team that's desperate to win. Detroit's not one of those teams. Like, the Lakers are one of those teams. The Warriors are one of those teams. The Warriors are in 11th despite only being 15th and 17th. That's kind of crazy. The Lakers are 500 and they're in 10th. But, like, those teams are kind of running out of time and probably need to take a couple of risks. The Timberwolves could play him as small forward. Small forward DA. Maybe that he'd finally function threes. There's not a lot of teams that make sense. The Bulls, I mean, they got Vucevic. Like, he's not an upgrade, I guess, if they want to go younger. Or if they want to get off Lonzo Ball, it's tough with them. The Knicks, as I said, like, they already got salary issues, but Mitchell Robinson's out for the year, and they got Evan Fournier.
Yeah, Hardenstein, though.
Yeah, but, like, if they could do Robinson and Fournier, the thing is, I don't really like that for Portland. I don't think that's enough for Portland, actually, because Robinson is injury-prone and making $60 million a year the next 3 years.
That's pretty good value, though, if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
But that's a question mark, yeah.
Between him and Robert Williams, you have one center.
Yeah.
It would be hilarious to see Randall and Ayton together.
Golden State is not trading Clay or Draymond for Ayton.
Yeah, no team is trading a, like, integral part of their core for Ayton. You're not going to get a core piece from another team for Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you threw Grant on top of Ayton, then maybe, but that'd be for Grant, not for Ayton, you know?
And it's hard for teams to match like 60 million in caps.
Yep, 100%. I mean, there's honestly really no other destinations. Like, if the Hawks got Siakam, maybe they'd prefer Ayton instead of Capella, because I don't know. I have no idea why, but
Would the
tough.
Pacers want Ayton? Probably not, because they signed what's his name? Got dunked on by Dame today. Miles Turner. They signed him to a really reasonable contract, so I don't think they would still be interested in Ayton.
Yeah.
Jeremy
Jordan Poole. Just kidding. I feel like the Washington Wizards could be a...
If you get Gafford and expiring spec,
Yeah.
Gafford and Tyus Jones.
I think that's too much. I think they can probably get a first for Tyus Jones.
All right, Gafford, DeLon Wright, and Gallinari. Is that enough salary? Probably not.
For Washington?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close. Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, because, like,
Can we do this, please?
I would throw on seconds on top of this if Washington really wanted it. You know what? You know who I've always thought is a good fit for DeLon Wright is Phoenix? Is there anything that they have?
We just have trouble matching any salary.
Yeah, because we can't take back Nas.
Yeah.
I mean, and they probably don't want to trade Nas. Damian Lee, Keita Bates, Diop, and frickin' I don't know. Yeah, it's tough for them to match him. It's definitely tough for them to match him. I was going to say, yeah, you could maybe get your seconds from Phoenix and not have to trade him and just get Gafford and Gallo, but yeah, it's tough. Tough for sure. Johnny Davis. Take a chance on Johnny Davis. Have him start shooting like he did in college instead of whatever the Wizards have done to him. Yeah. I feel like Washington could be a team for DA just because they're in a mess and they're in rebuild mode, and they might be the type of team to just say, screw it, like, why not take a chance on them? They're not going to be a player in free agency. They're probably going to trade Kuzma. You got Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole plus Ayton would be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll see that for sure. We're not getting Bilal Jackson.
Bilal. Yeah, we're not getting a top 10 pick from last year's draft for Ayton. In Ayton trades, just expect to be disappointed if you're expecting a core piece or like a top 10 pick from last year's draft or like a really good young player.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically, for the most part, a cap dump, and if you can get any extra value on top of that cap dump, it's actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, all right.
What's up?
I was just saying, all right. Fun talking trades.
Yeah. Any others you want to discuss with anybody on the Blazers?
Not right now.
Alrighty. That's your trade talk. Like the stream if you like the trade talk. Then we'll do more trade talk in the future. But only if this stream reaches 100 likes.
Brandon Tatum says we prefer Hayward or Simmons if those were the options. Absolutely Hayward because he's an expiring. Simmons, you'd still have to pay him next year.
Yeah, 100%. It's been fun. Glad you enjoyed, Jackson. Ayton in the 4th pick, future second to Utah for Markkanen? I mean, we don't have the 4th pick necessarily. Like a top 3 protected pick, I don't. No way Utah does that.
Yeah.
Would you do Aiton in an unprotected first, though, this year for Markkanen?
No, I don't think Markkanen really fits what this team needs long term out of their forwards.
Basically, we just need Alex Sarr.
I like Markkanen. I just don't think he's the right type of player if we're going to make the 3 guards work. Now, if we're going to move it on from one of their guards, then maybe.
Yeah. Got you. Anyway, anything else for this entire stream then? Anything else you want to wrap up on?
Thank you to everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. We're not having Blazers Uprise live tomorrow because we had it today instead with 12 games versus 2 tomorrow. And then we'll be back Friday night for the post-game show against the same Dallas Mavericks. Yeah.
Yep. Always got to play them twice in a row. Don't know why.
Are you still maybe for that stream or?
Questionable at best.
Okay.
At
Sounds good.
best.
So I'll at least be here. You might have Tori. You might have me solo. You might have me and a guest host. Something along those lines.
Yeah. Yep. Same thing for Sunday as well. Less likely
early
on Sunday.
tip.
Yeah, I don't like the early tip, so gonna try and make it for Friday probably though, because I don't want to miss 2 streams in a row. But there's a lot of games this month, so
Yeah.
a lot of games this month. Go Huskies, says Alvaro. Hell yeah, Monday. I'm looking forward to it. Can I finally get that monkey off my back, Eric?
Dude, I think I need you to, man. Because this affects me. Because, I mean, you could say, well, you're not going to go from never winning one to winning the Huskies and the 49ers in a short amount of time. But I need to know heading into the playoffs for the 49ers that your curse will not prevent me from watching the 49ers win a Super Bowl. So if I can see you you break that curse, then at least I know that it's not your fault when the 49ers lose, but I can blame the proper people on the field.
Facts. Dude, how many times did the Niners make the NFC Championship game, like, since they got good, like, 12 years ago with Harbaugh? Like, what, 5 times, is it?
Well, they made it. Let's see. They made it the year stupid Kyle Williams fumbled twice.
Brutal.
Against the Giants. I don't know if that's within 12 years or not. Pretty close. And
I mean, like, that year. It's like...
Yeah. And then they made the Super Bowl the next year and lost. And then I think the year after that was the Crabtree. Richard Sherman talking crap about Crabtree at the end. So that was in the conference final or the conference championship.
I'm looking at it on Wiki.
And then the Rams, we had a double-digit lead, and if Tart just catches that freaking duck from Stafford, or
the Packers the year before that.
Yeah, then the Packers, and then last year, against the Chiefs.
That's 6 times, right? So I'm just counting. How many times has one of my teams made it to the Final Four? So Washington, before this, made a college football playoff, so that's 7, okay? The Blazers made the Western Conference Finals in 2019, that's 8. Gonzaga's made the Final Four twice, that's 10. So, since I've been watching sports for like 20 years, my team has made
2 for Washington?
Well, I'm not counting this year because I'm counting like years, before this. I'm basically
they're in the finals.
No, I'm just saying like I'm 0-10.
Yeah.
On my team's winning a championship when they've been one of the Final Four teams we're beating. That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal, bro.
Well, I mean, Duck fans are pretty much in the same boat.
They're what, like 0-2?
Well, I mean, they just can't get over the hump.
Yeah, but I mean they're 0-10 when my team's in the Final Four. Like, and this year's the 11th time.
Well, the Ducks made it to the Final Four a couple times, didn't they?
The college football playoff. I thought they only made it once.
No, they made the playoffs. Well, they made the championship game in 2010 against Auburn.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
lost.
Yeah, and then
they lost in the championship to Ohio State. But then
I don't know if they made it another time though.
Well, no, I'm talking about basketball. They made the final.
Oh,
They made the championship game, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or a Final Four or something.
Yeah.
A couple times, and then if they're a Blazer fan, they'd also have the 2019. Yeah, so depending on who their NFL team is, they could have the same.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah. True. I'm 0-4 in championship games, so man, yeah, nerve-wracking. And then if you want to extend that to our fantasy football league, Eric, man, I've been in the Final Four like 5 times in the last 8 years in that league and still hasn't won a championship. Oh my god.
We were talking about that on our way down to Corvallis the other day.
Oh god, the Najee Harris thing. Oh my god, that'll haunt me until I win a fantasy football championship, bro. The Najee Harris thing was so brutal.
Yeah.
That was like the equivalent of like if Washington choked that game, dude.
Dude, that would have been one of the biggest choke jobs of all time, though. I cannot believe that.
Like,
you had the ball with a little over a minute left.
It would have been I don't even, people would have called it a choke job, but like it mostly would have been because our player gets hurt and saves them 30 seconds. Like that's just, I think that's a stupid rule.
It is a stupid rule, but yeah, I don't know.
Like, why is that in place? If we want to wind down the clock, why can't we just start the clock after the injury timeout? Like, start it in accordance with the play clock, right? Just whatever it would have been.
I don't know.
Like, we shouldn't be punished for an injury. I don't like that at all. So, yeah, that would have sucked. But we're here, so hopefully Monday goes well for me.
Well, because if it's like a live play, then running the clock once it's all set is unfair.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you throw a 20-yard pass and the guy gets hurt, right? The clock, well, let's just say it's a 9-yard pass, so it's not a first down. Okay. Guy catches it, is injured. Even if he wasn't injured, you'd have to run and set up the play. So like 10 to 15 seconds would run off while you get everyone set and hike the ball, right? Whereas if you stop it and then start it again.
But then you let the defense like enact a 10-second runoff, like an automatic 10-second runoff. Or 15-second runoff or whatever.
That's what they were going to do, but they'd have to call a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, in that scenario,
so
you can't reward the offense because then they'd fake injuries, right? So you have to give the defense the power to enact a 15-second runoff. In that sort of scenario, if the offense is trying to save time, but if the defense is trying to save time and the offense gets hurt, the clock shouldn't stop. Like, you should also give the offense the power to wind the clock.
Yeah.
So it like works one way and not the other. I think they gotta change that rule, but yeah. Because the only thing that gave them a chance was a player getting hurt. That motivates teams to try and injure guys. Like I don't like that. I think it's silly. But
Javier, this is a random question. Did y'all go to any playoff games when the Blazers made the Western Conference Finals?
Just one in the first round, game 2 of the first round.
Yeah, I went to think game 1 and 2 in the first round. I went to games 3 and 4 against Denver. And game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to several of those.
Yep. We weren't doing post-game shows, though.
Nope, that was the season before.
If only we could rewind time.
Can you believe we've almost been doing Uprise for 5 years?
Yeah, this is our 5th season.
Yeah.
And it'll be 5 years with
the draft.
3 playoff wins.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Ugh.
When do you think is the next time we'll win a playoff series? How many years of doing this channel until we win a playoff series, do you think?
Like 3 or 4 more years.
So 8 to 9 years of the channel before we win a playoff series.
Maybe even 10. Our 10th anniversary season will be.
Oh, God. Yeah, dude, like, I can't imagine a post-game show after we win a playoff series. That's depressing. So hopefully it'll be before 10 years, though, because that means, like, double the amount of time we've been doing this.
Can you imagine how hype that would have been, though, like, after the Dame bye-bye shot or
Dude,
CJ's Game 7 win? And then how pissed we'd be after Game 1, dude. You and I would have went off in the Western Conference Finals.
It would have been awesome. All of it would have been awesome in one way or another.
Dude, if we listened to that stupid Terry Stotts press conference from that game live, I mean, you thought some of our reactions were bad. We're 29th on defense with him and 29th without him. If you thought those were funny, just imagine us listening to Terry Stotts live get all defensive and say, well, last series, the Rockets tried to double him, and look how that worked out for them. So you're just going to leave him wide open? Leave him
wide open instead. Yeah, great game plan, Terry.
Frickin' stupid.
But then, like, the media bullies him, so he changes it, and it's better. And we get big leads in the 3 games. Was like, we didn't run it all season, so we didn't know how to execute it at high enough level because we didn't have any experience running it literally all season. We literally would have spent all year begging us to just mix up our defense so we're prepared to run different stuff just to see it come to fruition and us not being able to run it well enough because we had no experience with it.
Yeah.
It being any pick-and-roll scheme other than drop. How much do you guys miss the Stotts days because of our rants?
No, John Nash, what are you doing, man? That's terrible. Come on, you're better than that, John.
Yeah, that pick is only 15 to 30, so we're trading.
He says to trade 6 to Chicago for the pick they owe back. What?
Yeah, no. We're trading 6 for a pick.
I wouldn't even trade 12 for that.
Yeah.
If we didn't trade the rights to Chris Murray to them at 23.
That's what we should have freaking done.
I know. Can you imagine if we had our picks right now?
Instead of Chris Murray?
Yeah.
Man. Apparently they were just set on Chris Murray, though. Didn't even have him in for a workout either. But, like, they didn't really like Tamondy because he didn't work out well for them one time, and then they saw him in Summer League. They're like, wait, this guy's good, so then they got him.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they got him, but, yeah, it's not consistent. Trevin says make the pick top 5 protected instead of lottery protected for free. Whoa. Well, if it was 6, then...
He's saying you're basically changing the pick.
Yeah, that's actually literally what you're doing.
To get the pick, a better pick than they already are owed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually literally what it is, huh?
Yeah. The only way that would make sense is if it was part of like a bigger trade to get a star player, but doesn't make any sense why we wouldn't just use the 6th pick then to do that, and all the other picks we have. It's not like we need our picks right now with all the other picks.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's like every year, but it's not. It's just one time it'll convey, and then it's done. It's not really 6 picks or whatever that we owe them.
Yeah, the longer this goes, the better chance we can just like flip them 4 or 5 seconds for it.
Yeah.
The easier it is actually, because it gets closer to like turning into seconds.
Yeah.
If we keep missing the freaking playoffs, who knows? Watch that pick just never convey. We were like, why is it protected so long into the future? It's not gonna matter. It's gonna convey before 2028. We're sitting there in friggin' 2021. Like, it's not gonna last till 2028. Watch it just actually last till 2028. Never convey.
Do you think if we didn't owe Chicago that pick, that Cronin would have used a future first to trade up for Chris Murray last round? I'm scared.
I don't think so.
Know what he would have done. They had a lottery grade, Tori, when he's sitting
Did
there at like
Schmitz
50.
have a lottery grade?
I don't know, dude.
I hope not. I hope it was Cronin's genius big board and. Oh God, yeah. I don't know, man. You're stuck with one for eternity, Aiton or Chauncey. Who you got? That's an awful question.
Oh.
Why are you trying to end this stream on a depressing note?
So when Aiton's like 64 and can't walk anymore, we have to still have Aiton on our roster?
See,
guess I'm picking Chauncey.
See, we don't have to keep Chauncey as the head coach, right? So I'm sticking with Chauncey, and I'm making him like the 5th assistant. Yeah.
Yeah, you can take Rodney Bill's job.
Yeah, exactly. How are y'all still live, LMAO? We're still. How are we still live? I haven't hit
Tori
the end stream button.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
That's how.
I think you do, because I need to go to bed.
Yeah. We'll go to bed then. Maybe I'll keep streaming. No, I'm just kidding. We're out of here. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Gonna ratchet up the trade talk. Need to do a couple videos around that. My life is busy though. My life is busy for good reasons. But we'll definitely ratchet things up regarding trade talk as we go along. It's mostly going to be centered around Brogdon and a little bit of Aiton. And I just don't think the team's trading Grant, so it's tough. Maybe Thibault. I don't know. It's going to be a weird trade deadline. Going to be interesting to see what truly does happen. Did we tankathon? We lost? Yeah, we got the 6th pick. Yeah, we'll get you guys covered, but don't know what Friday's stream looks like, postgame show looks like. We'll see. Might be Eric and someone else. Might be Eric by himself. Might be me and Eric. I'm not sure. But we'll always have a postgame stream if possible, so we got you covered. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to the channel members. Thank you to everyone who hit the like button. Hit your like button on the way out of here. Let's finish this thing at 100 likes. And with that being said, we are out of here. We'll catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!